Another fantastic episode awaits you after I get finished rambling, but I couldn't not share a little bit about Scott Flansbaum and the amount of wisdom and what he's able to share is special to me. We first met, like most of these people so far, have all been through social media, and the impact that it's had of watching him go from being paralyzed to working his way to walking to being functioning as a father and a husband is absolutely fantastic. And he shared several things. One is that just through challenges, it requires love and support. So if you're going through a challenge, reach out, find somebody to help and support you. And then one of the things that jumped out at me that was just really, really cool is through the accident, it's helped him become a better Christian. And how many people do you hear cast blame on others? Scott is not one of those guys that blames, at least it doesn't come across that he blames anybody. And it is what it is, and he just chooses to be unbreakable. So there's no question that you guys will enjoy this one. Thank you, Scott. I really appreciate it. I'm glad that we finally have a chance to talk, because I was thinking about it when I messaged you just the other day. You and I have been friends for years, and we haven't actually spoken other than on those prayer calls that you had during COVID.
Right. I know. It's crazy, but it's crazy through it's been 4.5 years now since my accident. And it's crazy how my tribe has changed, and, people like you, and I can list a whole bunch, and it's great. It's just great. I met so many great people that have been so supportive, and, whether we talk, it's funny, last week I was texting Eddie Penny. I don't know if you follow him at all.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we become great friends, and same thing. Like, I think we talked on the phone a couple of times, and I don't even think we've met physically, but just I have a lot of those people, and that's the good thing about social media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what was neat, is because I was trying to piece together, is I think I first learned about you after a buddy who's not even on social media anymore, Christoph Lewis. I think you were on his podcast.
Yeah.
But I think he was on Alex Jowdy's Cornerstone of America.
Yeah.
I think that's the one that I heard you on. Weren't you on his?
Yeah, a couple of times. Yeah.
So it's weird when you start to piece all these things together. Like, how in the world did that even happen? I mean, it's just weird how all these dots get connected.
Yeah. And it's funny, I was telling my wife, because I haven't done a podcast in a long time. And because, that little thing called COVID screwed a lot of things up. She's like, "Oh, how do you know him?" And I go, "Well, actually," and I have to say thank you. I go, "I don't know how he started following me. Well, it was Dom, or like you said, Alex, whatever." I go, "But he loved our story, and he was huge on getting me on a lot of podcasts. You really were. You reached out to a bunch of people. So I really have to say thank you because in the beginning, especially, it was about, spreading this message and getting it out there. And so thank you for believing in it so much. And, because I was on quite a few podcasts because of your help."
Awesome. No, that's perfect. Well, before we get into it, because I want to dive into a lot of those things.
Yeah.
So I like to do fun things at the beginning.
Yeah. All right.
And I know you're a man that likes fun things. I was hoping you were going to wear the mink coat or whatever, the fur coat.
It's right behind here. Before we get off, I didn't want to upstage your podcast with this coat that's becoming legendary. So, but before we get off, I will put it on. So
perfect. Well, this is all about you guys and not me. So the first one, it's would you rather?
Okay.
All right. So would you rather freeze time or go back in time?
Oh, go back in time.
Okay. Why so?
I have this dream about, or not dream, but this vision of getting to heaven and being able to, one of the best things about heaven to me is being able to go back and see how the pyramids were made, or how dinosaurs were, or you name it, Jesus, crucifixion, all that stuff. So for me, when I say go back in time, I mean go back in time.
That's awesome. I hadn't thought about that, but to be able to debunk all the stuff that people have tried to say, well, it's this way and that way and aliens. And then what if it really was aliens?
Yeah. Hey, talk to my kid. It's a conspiracy theory over here.
Yep. Okay. Would you rather live without music or TV?
Oh, TV all day, all day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who are some of your favorite bands?
First and foremost, Bon Jovi. That's my wife and I. We dated in high school and then went our separate ways. So in high school, Bon Jovi was like the music we would listen to. I growing up in high school in the East Bay, it was gangster rap. That's all I listened to, besides Bon Jovi. So I like Tupac. I love everything, absolutely everything. But I feel music, and I was just doing this on a date night with my wife. I love how a song can bring you back to a moment in time and just take you there. And I don't think TV can do that same thing.
Yeah, it does. It just in a moment's notice. Now, for me, do you remember the show Dream On HBO?
No, I don't think
So it was like one of the first series that HBO ever did, but he was raised by a television. So he thought in TV. Yeah. So for me, TV and movies has that effect because I never had that music connection. Like I remember, I can see vividly like when Michael Jackson was playing or anything like from the, like when the Def Leppard Hysteria, when that album came out, buying the cassette tape.
Yeah.
But movies, that's kind of like for me is I can remember the movie theater that I saw it in, when I was there, usually who I was with. So it's always fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah.
Okay. Would you rather, this is specific for you, would you rather only ever have 9mm or 45 ACP?
Depends on what time in my life. Right now, 9mm. I've definitely switched over to mostly that, but for after the Marine Corps for a good decade, I was a 45. I mean, the first gun I purchased out of the Marine Corps was a H&K 45 USP. So I was a big 45, and then remember 40 cal was big. So, but now I don't know. Went to 9. So right now I'll say 9mm.
It's a lot less expensive to go 9, even though it's still like shooting gold out the barrel.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. How about you?
Okay. I'm kind of in that same motion of just moving to 9mm, just one, because then you could have a multitude of platforms that everything shoots 9mm. So you just have to buy one big chunk. Yeah. And then I do have a 40 cal Glock that I like. Right. But I carry, and I have a 40 cal Smith & Wesson M&P Shield, which I love.
Love that gun.
And I have a 40 cal and my wife has a 9mm. So, but I'm keeping those, but I'm moving into the 9s. Yeah.
It's funny you say that because the rifle next to my bed now is actually a Chris Vector in 9mm. And I don't know if you've ever shot a Chris Vector.
I haven't.
Many people have it. If you go to your range and they have one for rent, whoa, do you see that?
I see it, but I hear you great.
Okay. As long as that's okay with you. My camera is going crazy. Is that going to bother you, or are we good?
No, you can stop the video if that's better. Oh, there you go.
Oh, we're back. Sorry. Yep. Technical difficulty.
We're good.
Anyways, that gun is a modern marvel of engineering. And if you have one at your range, you can try it out. But that is it replaced an AR platform next to my bed. So,
okay.
Yeah. If you want to be accurate, that's the gun.
Well, and that's another thing is that in talking about home defense guns, Sean Ryan, I heard him talk about it. And his logic behind it is great, is that it should be a rifle platform or a smaller platform that is 9mm. So it's not punching through the center block into the neighbor's house if you have to shoot.
Yeah, no, and that's interesting to hear. My thing with that is I think with 4 girls, I go to worst case scenario, and this is practice like you play. So my thing is if I came out of that room, somebody was holding my girls hostage, and I needed to take that life or death headshot, that's the gun. Like 10 out of 10 times, I know I'm going to go right where I want. So that's my thing on it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Last one. Would you rather have pizza or tacos?
That's a hard one. Considering we've had both like in the last 3 days. I'm gonna go tacos. Although if I'm really trying to make my wife happy, pizza, because that's her favorite food. So
what type of pizza is her favorite?
So we always get pepperoni and mushroom. And then if it were up to her, she'd get black olives, but I can't stand olives. So
I love I like green olives on my pizza too.
She loves all olives. So I haven't been able to, it's like one of the only things I don't like.
So that means whenever we actually get the families together at some point, we can order our own pizza, because my wife hates olives as well. So
perfect. Yeah. And when we get together, my wife's Costa Rican, so I'll have her make enchiladas and tacos and all that good stuff, and it'll be amazing.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So Scott Flansbaum's your name, and you're a husband, a father, a girl dad, by the way, friend, veteran, unbreakable survivor, coach, motivational speaker. And so those are just some of the things that you're known by. And I know that you don't describe yourself as any of those other than friend, husband, father. Those are the most critical points that I see that you put out there on a regular basis in social media.
And Instagram male model.
Well, yes, I did. I was going to see if you were going to add that.
Much to my daughter's and wife's dismay. So
your daughters, haven't they figured out by now, as our main role as a parent is to embarrass them? I mean, that's
they're getting it, bro. They're getting it.
There's such pleasure in that.
Yeah.
And the purpose of Pathways to Greatness. So I battled imposter syndrome for probably over a year of people saying I needed to do a podcast. And I just was like, there's so many podcasts out there, but I had a group of people that I highly respect in a very small amount of time. They all came out and said, I needed to do a podcast. So I don't want one to be self-serving, because there are those that are out there that, promote the person and not the guest. And so for me, I thought Pathways to Greatness is such a valuable name, because everybody has a different definition of greatness, and everybody, your proof, have different pathways to get them to where they're at. Right. And I want to encourage other people to not think about life in a linear way and just think it's ups and downs, twists and turns, but we all are striving towards that greatness. So I'll put you on the spot. If you had to think of a definition of greatness, what would yours be?
Well, it's funny because it's a really lofty title to ask somebody, in my humble opinion, to ask me to be on, because I don't feel like and so I thought about it actually, and thinking you might ask this, what would I say? And I would say greatness is being in heaven with Jesus, and your title path to greatness would be, what are you doing to get there, in my opinion. And so I don't think any of us are great, and especially with that, I would say we're all striving to be great because of him and serve him. And so it's just, what are you doing to get there? And that's been a big thing in the last 4 years, is how can I, not only serve him for myself, but be a role model to my children, be a role model to my wife, be a role model to people that follow me on social media. And so that's greatness to me, would be, we're not great at all. and we're trying to, and that to me would be the ultimate greatness, is one day being there with him.
Amen to that. No, and that's what I love about asking that question so far with the several interviews that I've already done, is that they're all different, but none of them have said Ferraris, the biggest house, the best job. I mean, nobody has said that yet. And that means I've picked the right people to talk to. But also it just shows that there's more to life than all that stuff. And that's the other part, because the Instagrams and all the social medias can push you into that idol worship, the comparison game that is just devastating. It's devastating to people, but they don't feel themselves getting trapped into that.
Absolutely. And in my case, and I was just talking to my wife about this the other day, is comparing traumas. Comparing traumas is the worst thing you can do. And I get this all the time, and I know we'll get into what happened to me, but people always say, why am I even complaining to you? Like, look at what you've been through. And it's like, no. Like, what you're going through is real. It's tough, and it might be the hardest thing you're doing. Comparing it, whether it's, you have it worse than me, better than me, like that's to me, that's stupid. And I hate it. I hate it.
That's a really good perspective that I hadn't thought about. And I hope the people that are listening will hang on that for a little bit, of just not, it's that, again, it's the comparison. We like to talk about comparing the good things, but I hadn't necessarily thought, because I've been guilty of saying that same thing to people and not realizing the impact that it could make on them being. Would you say that it's made you more self-conscious of the injury or of the trauma?
No, it's just made me, what it's made me realize is don't ever try and, like, just have empathy, and don't try and don't say like, oh, I understand, or I get it, or I can, I can put myself in your shoes. It's like, no, you can't. No freaking way. My own wife can't, so it's made me very just soft and loving. And I really have, like, I just have this, gosh, I'm trying to put it into a good word, but I'll just dump for a minute. It just makes me realize how hard life can be. And I've come across through this a lot of people that are going through things worse than me, which, once again, I'm not comparing the trauma. It makes me, knowing what I've gone through, it just makes my heart hurt for them. And so I've just tried, and looking at, because of social media and everything we're seeing, you see those people with the Ferraris and all this other stuff. And don't get me wrong, I like being funny and being out there, and I like nice things. And my wife and I, up until this, made really good money and had a lot of nice things. But at the end, it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't. If you're not surrounding yourself with people, especially your family, and your friends, that are just good people, and you're not trying to make the world around you better, like you talked about, getting to that greatness. To me, I don't have time for that. It makes me sick if I see that, and I just want to surround myself with people like that. And I know, even with my own family, it falls on deaf ears a lot, because people always ask, like, what are you doing here? Like, really, is it really making a difference? And I will tell you, to give you props, as I watch you over the last 4 years, it's like, I see a guy, and I was telling my wife, this guy that has a clear mission and a calling, and it doesn't matter. And I've just watched you just not let anything get in your way. And I'm really proud of you for it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And, that's a powerful statement. Just when you hear it, I'm learning to receive that,
Right.
because it's one of those things where you want to immediately just push it away. One of the things that I heard is that you have to receive it, because many times it's the other person showing appreciation. And if you try to downplay it, it's taking the joy from the other person. So I appreciate it. I receive it and know that I'm working on really, really taking that to heart. Because just like what you do is, you don't know who's going to hear the message that you're trying to give, that it's going to turn their life completely around. And there's no doubt that you've done that. And I'd love, before we continue to go further, you don't have to give the full detail, but for some of those that don't know who you are, and I'll refer them to some of the many other podcasts that you've been on. And even your Instagram tells a good layout of the story, but help us all that they don't know who you are, where you've started from and where you are today.
Yeah, I'll just say, from us getting together, it's like I went in one Friday for a routine back procedure, epidural injection, and the doctor accidentally hit my spinal cord and paralyzed me from the chest down. And to make it short, is they said I'd never walk again. And my wife and I were faced with a Friday where we had a barbecue scheduled, to you're never going to walk again. You're going in for emergency surgery. And over the last 4.5 years, it's been hell. We have literally walked through hell and back trying to get me to walk again. Luckily, I have, for the most part. I mean, I still use a walker and a robotic leg and different things. But I'm not in a wheelchair like they said I would. And we've had to work so hard. And I just started documenting it from the beginning, more for myself and my family and friends. And it just kind of took off. And so since then, I've been trying to help people that, my wife and I and our family came up with what you and I are wearing, Unbreakable, which is just it's just our brand, where when we started it, it was just to let people know that, look, you're going to take in life round after round after round, if I can give a military analogy. And on our little Unbreakable bracelets, one on the back, it says bend, don't break. And that's what we've done. And it's still a challenge. And, as time goes on, people forget. And I get this all the time, like, oh, are you back to work? Are you this? Are you that? And it's like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm disabled for the rest of my life. And no, I'm not in a wheelchair, which is amazing. And thank God. But it impacts me and my family every single day, to this day, and it will for the rest of our lives. And we didn't ask for it. We absolutely didn't ask for it, but we got it. And so now it's, in my life, it's finding, why did God do this to me? What's my purpose now? What's my, and so I've just always tried to give it back, and serve him. And that's what I'm doing. So it started with a lot of, bravado, a lot of social media, a lot of big things, and, lots of coverage. And now it's more of, I take care of my girls, and because my wife is the breadwinner and, has a big time job and trying to pay the bills. And behind the scenes, I have right now a lot of kids, 18, 19-year-old kids that same thing. They woke up one morning, they jumped into a lake and hit something, or did a backflip that went wrong and are paralyzed. And so now I'm coaching them through the hardest first year of their lives, to try and walk again. And it's not as public anymore. It's all behind the scenes. But I've learned that, the public part is nice for your own ego, but what these people really need, and they've told me, is they need this. They need this. And so I probably helped at that level, really intimately, like a lot of hard work, probably 12, spinal cord injury, newly, injured, paralyzed people. One of them's full on walking, like amazing. Another kid I'm helping, his name's Dylan, is almost there. I mean, he's getting there. It's a lot of work, a lot of work. And then this new kid, Larry, African-American kid out of the South, football player, college football player, martial artist. And it's like, oh man, and I'm helping him because unless you've been through it, man, it's being paralyzed is rough. It's rough and everything that comes with it.
Yeah. And, and watching, and you did a really good job summarizing it, because the story is much more involved than that. And I encourage everybody just to go and scroll through your Instagram, just scroll all the way to the bottom and start all over and hear the details, because it's been one of those things. Like, again, I wear this shirt with pride because I know by watching what you went through gives me the hope. And there's times where if I'm tired or if I'm worn out doing something, I think to myself, okay, this is temporary. Scott's isn't temporary. Like,
Right.
he's in that position now forever. Unless, again, like you said earlier, unless God provides you a miracle, which he can. But just like Paul, he left him with his infirmities, and Paul didn't understand why either. And it's got to be a challenge. So when you look back at your life before and your life now, what would you say is one of the biggest differences in your approach to life?
Oh man, I'd say right now, 4.5 years in, it's survival. Um, I'm in pain 24/7, and I have been since this started. There has not been 1 minute, even in my sleep. Like, we have a camera on me when I sleep, and I mean, I fight my sleep, spasms, all these other things. I had no idea. You go back to me the first year, I thought walking was going to be the biggest challenge, but I'm not joking, 7 to 10 on that pain scale, 24/7 for 4.5 years. It'll drive you insane. And I haven't figured out, and there's no, like you said, the only hope, we are down. We have tried everything, to a miracle from God, or Elon Musk, maybe his Neuralink he keeps talking about. I mean, that's where we're at as far as what's left. So I had no clue that was going to be so hard, and I have 4 kids and a wife, and nobody can imagine what that is like. And most nights I hobble to bed, and in the morning it's hard to get up. I mean, it's a whole process. And so yeah, I'm just trying to survive right now. I haven't really figured out how to manage that, you
Mm.
know. And I don't know that I ever will, besides what I'm doing, which is take care of my family, continue to serve my wife. I mean, a lot of people would see that and say, I'm crushing it. But for me, it's like, it's hard. I mean, there's right now, I'm talking to you, but it's like I can feel my leg just blaring. I can feel my neck. I can feel everything, So it's like I explain it to people. It'd be like if somebody had an air horn in your ear 24/7.
Mm.
Could you go talk to your wife? Could you play with your kids? Could you do? Of course you could. But that air horn in your ear the whole time would drive you insane. It would drive you insane. And that's
Right.
kind of, I don't know if it's a good analogy, but it kind of, so it's like I can get through the day, right? But it's that constant reminder. So I just think right now I'm just trying to survive and be the best husband and father I can be. But it's hard. It's really hard.
The thing that I picked up, so tell me if I'm wrong, that I heard that I feel in certain situations when I'm experiencing something similar, just, emotionally or whatever it may be, is you've turned things outward Like you're trying to help and love others and not constantly focus on everything that's going on with you. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of them for sure. And
Yeah.
it's also, I was like you, I was in pharma, medical device. I was very successful. I had that all taken away. Like as a man, you want to work, you want to provide for your family, and overnight it was taken away. And I'm not one of those guys that wants to sit here and, like, when people ask me what I do now, it's like I don't want to say I'm disabled and a stay-at-home dad. Like I want to say I'm this or that, right? And it's funny because most people don't care, and they're just like, dude, you have walked again, you are this, you're taking care. Like my wife says it all the time. You should be proud of that. But it's just, I don't know. I feel like that's why she loves me, because I'm not that guy. Like I won't settle for that. So, but it's kind of my reality. So that's the kind of so yeah, I do. I try and I just try, like I said, I'm trying to find my purpose, my drive.
Yeah. And to me, it's also, and I'm so glad we're having this conversation for me and then for whoever's going to listen to this, because what it, what I get from it is that we worry about ourselves so much that we're concerned with the the problems that we have versus looking at all the things out there that we've done, but not settling and being content for the things that we did. And Goggins talked about having a cookie jar. It's like when things just suck, just go in and grab a cookie, which is the thing that you did well, eat it, and then move on.
Yeah.
And that's what I get from it. And it's a good reminder for me is that we can also get complacent and just want to eat cookies all day and not realize that's not good. You're not going to move forward if you're just sitting around eating cookies and thinking about, hey, this is what I did. That's what you did. These are the good things that we did. But what are you going to do to continue to move forward?
Yeah, no. And I think that is a great trait. Seriously. I think it's a great trait to not be content, and like you said, it's like take a moment to acknowledge whatever you did. But I don't know your wife, but I bet you if I asked her, that's probably one of the things she loves the most about you, is that, because that's what they want in a man, that's what they want. And don't get me wrong, right now, in certain aspects, I am sitting back eating cookies all day since COVID, like when it comes to diet or exercise or whatever, I got thrown off my thing. But there are things where I'm doing them really well. And then there's things like everybody that I'm struggling with.
Right, right. Well, the other thing that I love following you is your complete admiration, your love and desire for your wife. It is so awesome. She I could tell she gives it right back to you.
In her own way. Yeah, it drives her nuts. But she was my first love, my first a lot of things. And we were in high school, and I went off to the Marine Corps. I asked her to marry me, and she said, no, stupid. We're 19. Like that's not happening. She came from a very poor, nothing. She didn't even have a landline when we dated in high school. And she was hell bent on getting out of poverty in her situation by education. And she busted her ass. And so I was offering her a house in Hawaii. She could go to college. She could, tell me who wouldn't take that, especially coming from where she came from. And she told me no. And then I stupidly, being the lonely Marine, went off and married the next girl that came by. And, we went 13 years before, that woman decided to go find somebody else. And so in some rare thing, this jet-setting executive that I used to be in love with, was always in love with, happened to be available and happened to fall in love with me again. And I tell her all the time, it's like, I don't take it for granted. And I absolutely adore this woman. And every day. And it's funny, in the last 4 years, I've realized like my job is to serve her. And that's what I try and do. And I just adore her. And like you said, it shows all that is not fake. It drives her nuts, because it's a lot. I'm a lot, but I truly do. I adore her. And so every morning I make her coffee first thing in the morning, every single day. And I tell her it's because I want to serve you every day. And so by making you coffee before you go to work every single day, it's like that admiral that gave the speech about making your bed, like do that one task. For me, it's like, okay, if I do that, I know I at least did one thing every day to serve you. And yeah, she's amazing. I love her. Absolutely love her. She fills my bucket.
Yeah. She's your ride or die, right?
Yeah. 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 I drive her nuts with fur coats and all sorts of things. So yeah.
So again, not only is your story amazing for people to follow, they need to follow you just to see how you torture her on a regular basis.
That's a perfect word. She would totally thank you for using that word. Yeah.
Well, my dad always said growing up, he's like, if I don't pick on you, I don't like you.
Yeah.
And so that means you really love her.
Yeah. Well, another thing too is not only that, but I was in a relationship where it wasn't like that. And I tell her I want to be that 70-year-old couple in the cafe that the younger people are looking at going, oh my gosh, look at them. They're so adorable. Like they can't keep their hands off each other all these years. But more importantly, I tell my girls this all the time because they always see us making out or whatever, and it's disgusting to them. But I tell them, I'm like, I want you guys one day to find somebody who adores, you adore just as much as I adore your mom or vice versa. And so, we show our kids all the time, so I want to show them that because there are a lot of couples out that just, it's convenient, right? And so I just want them, I know how great it feels to be that in love with somebody. And I pray that they get to, find that themselves. So we try and show them.
Well, the good thing is you're setting the bar high. And that's another element to greatness, is setting the standard and showing other people the way. I feel that so many people, and I say so many people, I'm in that group as well, is we're modest in our approach to life because we don't want to seem like we're, boasting or bragging or just being bigger than we really are. However, we have to model the way so people can find their way. But it all comes down to, like, if you hear what you said at the beginning, that greatness is getting to heaven and being an example, a Christ-like example. And that's one of my key elements to my mission statement, is Christ told us to love our wives as he loves the church. He served the church, which is the body, and he did everything he could, including giving his life for all of us. And what you just shared, the whole time I'm sitting there thinking, is this is a Christ-like example. It doesn't mean that you're less of a man. It means you're more of a man because you're embracing your role to lead, to love, to cherish, and setting the example. Now your girls have a really high bar set, as they should.
Right. 100%. Especially as a man, especially for my girls, because with them, we always talk about lions are big here in this house, pride of lions. And I always tell them, like, hey, in a pride of lions, the women do everything, right? They hunt. The males just sit around and look beautiful, but but every once in a while, the mom needs to look to that male lion and have him roar, right? And so it's teaching my girls that, like, that's the big thing for them. I want them to be so strong and independent and, successful like their mom is. But at the end of the day, I want them to have a strong male, that they love, that will be that male for them. I feel like we've lost it in this society, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
It's like Think and Grow Rich. In the book, it talked about that me becoming wealthy doesn't make you poor. And by the man being strong doesn't make the woman weak.
Right.
And what's happened is society is saying strong woman, weak man to be the comic relief.
Right.
And yeah, you can be the comic relief, but it's like you said, is that there's no question that all the ladies in your life and all the friends in your life, if it came down to it, even with your disability, you're going to be the first one going to the gunfire. And
100%.
that doesn't mean you can't still enjoy life. You can't wear fur coats and cowboy hats.
Yeah.
But it's
Much to their dismay, but yeah, no, absolutely. And and it doesn't mean they can't be, you know, strong women. I mean, my wife is a freaking, COO of a company. I mean, built a freaking company, and she has always I think she's always out earned me, and it's one of those things where I'm like, I don't like, it doesn't bother me one bit, it's like, it makes me strive to be better and bigger. And, it's just, I just want strong women. So,
yeah, and I think when you share that, is that because the measuring stick isn't the income. You both love each other, you both
right,
respect each other, and that's enough. And if one makes more than the other, oh well,
right.
it to me it's all one pot anyway. So it's not this or that. It's, hey, this is what we're doing for our family.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, I mean, it just doesn't matter. But like you said, in my house, there's a clear role as to if there's a bump in the night, uh, who's going? Dad. Dad's not there, who's going? Probably our 11-year-old, but that's because dad trained her, And so, uh, yeah, it's just like, I don't know. I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but you get what I'm saying.
No, yeah, it's, and I think it's actually, I know that it's a very valid point when you're talking about pathways to greatness. Is we all have roles to play. And if we get all twisted up on titles, if we get twisted up on positions at certain time, you're going to have ups and downs where sometimes you're going to need somebody to help. You're going to need somebody to do something different. But we all have a vital part to play in the big picture. And if we get too granular, it's, you miss the forest for the trees kind of thing. But then sometimes people get so high, they don't even see forest. It just looks like grass because it's just a bunch of tops of trees.
Right. And I just look at my kids' friends and their families and everything, and the people that are doing it differently than it's been done for tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of years. And it's like, don't get me wrong. Okay. Our family right now, there's plenty of things I could tell you are going off the rails because of this accident and what's happened to us. But overall, I think that's why we survived. So, I mean, my wife and I are still together. There is a 95% divorce rate in people that go through what I call it as, and unfortunately, my wife's best friend just went through this. She lost her daughter, my wife's goddaughter. Just it's coming up on 1 year. It's the club called, you wake up one morning thinking it's just going to be another day, and your life has changed forever. And it's not, oh, I lost my mom or dad. Everybody's going to go through that. It's not that that's not terrible. It's, something tragic, absolutely tragic, that changes your life. Like, you have a hole in your heart and you'll never be able to fill it. You might fill it with other things, right? Sorry, 1 second. My Rottweiler's about to go crazy. Give me 1
Let
second.
him go.
Yeah, if you ever want the most like dog that's like the most what's the word I'm looking for? Just loyal and like savage dog ever, get a Rottweiler. They will take care of you, trust me.
Yeah.
But sorry. But anyways, yeah, we joined that club. My wife's best friend joined that club. It's a really shitty club to join. And the 95% divorce rate is because, all the things that come with it. And I think the reason we've been able to survive it is that love. It's the roles we've, going back to that, tying it all in, it's just we've made a very strong family, and we're a split family. My two older girls biologically are not my wives, even though she's raised them since they were 3. Uh, and she's their mom, but it's like, there's a lot of things going on there.
Yeah, and again, if you from the outside, and again, it's like a duck swimming on the water. There's a lot of stuff going on underneath that nobody ever sees, but you can still see and you feel it. You feel the love for your girls. You feel the love that they give you back. And like I said, you and your wife, your friends. That's another thing that does not go unnoticed. Is you are great at giving a lot of credit to the people that you've surrounded yourself with that have helped you through this, and you can see them in their full, like, 100% support of you, and that means a lot. And I know it means a lot to you, but as a viewer looking from the outside, it just shows you what you can do when you have a huge strong community around you.
Yeah, no, thank you. And it's changed a lot in the last 4.5 years. I mean, you and I being friends, never would have happened, but you find out in that. And what I've learned is, and it's so true, what do they say? Show me your friends, I'll show you your future, and I have some of the most successful, amazing friends in the world that would give me the shirt off their back, as would I. And oh, you were in that prayer group. I mean, when COVID started, it was like, okay, we got this thing going. How do we keep it going? And I can't tell you how many you saw it. So I just started a Zoom call where people could get on. It was Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I mean, it was a lot of time, but people had a lot of time. And you saw that group. I mean, you're talking about 30 of the biggest, baddest, from sheriffs to, entrepreneurs to Navy SEALs to you name it. You talk about a lot of successful people. And yeah, man, it's great when you're around those people, because I also have people like my buddy Chris, he holds me accountable. He's like, hey man, you said you were gonna do, and I always tease him going, hey, I'm a girl dad, I'm very sensitive. Okay, that hurts, but it's true. He'll call me out, and you want people like that. You want people like that. So it's not just. And the other thing too is, like, everything that I've gone through with my wife and all that, it's like I have friends that, first off, I don't share things about me and my wife unless I know 100% that they realize this is just husband-wife stuff. They're not gonna hold anything against her. Like, they know in the long run I love her, but I'm very honest with them, because most of the time they're calling me out, going, "You're wrong," or change this, or do that, as opposed to just letting me vent and being like, "Yeah, bro, like that's messed up," So it's good to have people like that. It really is. And they're just amazing people. And I'm so blessed, because a lot of them, like you, if I only know since this accident.
So some of the people that you met, what are some of the valuable lessons that they've taught you that they may not know that they've taught you?
First of all, most of them are all just big time Christians. And being born and raised Catholics, most of us don't know how to read the Bible. So it's that's first and foremost, made me a better Christian. I've always been faithful. I've always that. I mean, going into surgery, when they told me I'd never walk again, I mean, I led the operating room in prayer. So it's not like I wasn't missing God in my life. I would say, first and foremost, almost all of them are big time Christians, and they've helped me just become better in that. And then secondly, they're just all leaders. They're all leaders, and they're all successful in their own ways. Some of them have been through great traumas. I mean, great traumas, not great in a good way, but just grandiose. And they've given me so much guidance and hope, and but overall, they're just good people.
Yeah, I would say unselfish. Again, like again, looking from the outside
Yeah.
is most of them are doing things and not banging the drum of, hey, look what I'm doing for Scott. It's,
Oh,
hey, let's do this for Scott.
yeah. If I can give you a story real quick. So,
Please. Yeah.
Sheriff Mark Lamb, America's sheriff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very popular sheriff, probably if not the most popular sheriff in the country. Unfortunately, 2 weeks ago, his son, his granddaughter, and his daughter-in-law were hit and killed by, it looks like, a drunk driver. I mean, you talk about traumatic. I mean, traumatic. And that's somebody who I've become friends with. And I get stem cells every 3 months. And this guy who pays for them, you won't find him on social media. You won't find anything. He pays for veterans to get stem cells out of his own pocket. Every 3 months, he drops down $12,000 for me for these stem cells that are so important. And we become really close. Well, I'm driving out. Obviously, I can't repay this guy. Like, I just can't, besides my friendship to him. I find out he's like a huge fan of Sheriff Lamb because he's on Live PD and all these other shows. I'm like, no kidding. I go, I'm friends with him through all this. And he goes, no way. So I reached out to Matt, who's this undersheriff, and was like, hey, man, do you think maybe Mark could send a little video, for me so I can give it to this guy? Because that'd be a cool gift. And I can't repay this guy. That guy is so busy. Within an hour, I had a video from him just saying, like, hey, thanks for taking care of our boy Scott. God bless you. I mean, nobody knows about that. Nobody knows about it. No hesitation. Boom. In the middle of his busy day, sent it. It's just like, wow. So I just remember after that accident, I just remember breaking down because I was texting the guy who pays for my stem cells, telling him, I was just thinking, God, what a selfless, just amazing man. What a good friend. And he's going through this hardship. Nobody knows, like, these little things,
Mm-hmm.
and there's so many, they all would do that, and yeah, man, they're selfless, they're good people, they care, they're God-fearing. I mean, those are the qualities.
Yeah. And it's that, again, we're commanded to be the good neighbor.
Yeah.
And so many times I know I've always wanted a good neighbor when I have to realize I'm the one being told to be the good neighbor,
Right.
not my neighbor. So I
Yeah.
have to set the example.
Yeah.
And that's a great story. That's for both people that you just talked about.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm truly, and you will find that if unfortunately you ever have to join the club I talked about, most people, you will be shocked at the goodness. We're flooded by negativity, right? And negative, articles and headlines and all that. You will be shocked by the greatness of people. I mean, we had a neighbor that dropped off. We didn't even know. I had to check the security camera, but my sister was down here, or my sister-in-law, who, once again, people who drove through the middle of the night, 12 hours to be here for us, because obviously we didn't plan for what happened. And they're like, dude, there's like $400 in groceries on your step, diapers, cleaning supply, things you wouldn't even think about. And it was a neighbor. They're like, we just figured you have a kid, a baby, you have this, you have that, like, you're going to need all this stuff. And without even asking, they just went out, bought it, put it on the porch. And the only reason I knew is because I have a security camera.
Right.
And I got to see who it was. But it's amazing. So for anybody listening, all the stuff you see out there, for the most part, people are good people.
And I think the other thing that I get, I have to stop saying I think, because I know what we have to do is be nice.
Oh,
And just, if and I know that you are as well, is if a good thing comes across your heart, comes across your mind, wherever you want to say that it comes across, just do it. Because there's no question to me, it's God telling us that person needs it, whether or not they're in a tragedy, or they're just having a bad day, or they're in a bad spot, or They just don't feel loved today is just doing something nice. If it comes into your mind and it's good for somebody else, you should do it.
Yeah, no, and absolutely. And especially if it's hard. And let me give you another story. I hate to even say this because it's going to sound like I'm stroking ourselves and patting ourselves on the back, but I just told somebody this the other day. This world needs it so badly. I truly believe it. That's what my wife and I set out to do. And sometimes it's hard to convince her because we're in a tough thing. We lost a lot of money and all, bills are stacking up and all that. But we were lucky enough to have so many people contribute to this robotic leg that I needed, that has changed my life and helped me walk again. It was $60,000, 60 grand, and not covered by insurance, obviously. And not only were we able to raise that money through GoFundMe and doing all that, I'm sure you shared it, probably contributed. Thank you. I can't thank all the people that did it, but we raised 10 grand over. And I remember I told my wife, because after that, we gave that 10 grand away. And then after that, we sold Unbreakable shirts. Every time we sold Unbreakable shirts, we'd given the money away. And my wife's sitting there looking at the checkbook and just like, babe, we really could use this money. Like, what are we doing? And I'm like, no. And I keep telling her, I'm like, no, like, we needed a leg. We got it. This is not ours. We're giving it to somebody who needs it more than us, and she's looking at me like, we need it. And I'm like, no, I know, but and I keep telling her, I'm like, it will come back. I promise you, I believe it will come back. And we're constantly giving. And once again, not to pat ourselves on the back, but she's, always sitting there as the one who handles all the finances going, we need it. And I'm like, I know we do. I tell people all the time, it's like, we're hungry, but we're not starving, And so I truly, Jeff, I truly believe that's what this world needs. It needs so much love, and it needs people to go out there and act. And it could be so simple, but just act. And I tell my girls all the time, we are going to change the world. And through this, and they think I'm crazy because they see how big that is. But I truly believe that the way you change the world is by every single person doing that just a little bit. And then we change the world. No, we can't change the world through Unbreakable, but we can change the neighborhood. We can change the school. We can change somebody's life. And if every single person did that, I know it sounds, to some people goofy and grandiose, but I truly believe it.
Well, and I believe it with you, because we all have, again, the things the gifts that we've been given, the situations we've been given to be able to give back and provide. And when you were talking about it, I'm sitting there thinking of, just imagine if you impacted the one person that motivated them just to do a little bit more, and they came up with a cure or something that just solved a lot of the world's problems, or some of the other things, because they saw a funny post. Or if a husband sees how you admire your wife on an Instagram post as he's scrolling through, and leans over and gives his wife a kiss, which could rekindle the marriage flame that had been needed to rekindle for a long time. So that saved that, which saves that, which saves that. And it's that constant compounding interest that made Warren Buffett a billionaire. And kindness, we need to have kindness in compound interest.
Yeah, amen to that. 100%.
Well, I know you've given me a lot of your time. And so in parting, what is something that you would like to share with the audience that would be beneficial for them? And you've already given a ton of nuggets. So
I think, I don't know. I think I would just tell them is what you see on social media with most of these people is BS. I've seen behind the curtain on a lot of these people. What I try and do is be real. And I would say that life is really hard. It's really hard. And just all the things we talked about, just strive to do that. But no, for every single thing that I said on here that's positive in this, we struggle every single day, and that's real. That's real. And so just remember that. And it's like, put all the stuff that's hard, work at it, work at it, but know if you're getting that, it's real. And I try and share that too. I try and share the struggles. I try and share all the other things. And, I was helping this kid recently. And it's funny because there's a lot of people that go into the hospitals like every Tuesday. This guy comes at noon, right? And he gives people the message of hope. And that's great. That's what people need, but I've been embedded with this kid, and I know the fire he's about to walk through. I know the hell he's about to walk through. And so I've been really real. And it's funny, coming up on a year now for him, talking to his mom, she's just like, this is horrible. Like this, I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy, but, and that was my thing. I'm like, yeah, no. So when I was giving you all the positive, I was also giving you the negative, because otherwise it's like, you're not going to be prepared. So I just want people to know that are listening to this, just keep fighting. Like we say in Unbreakable, bend, don't break, just keep fighting. But please know that if you're out there looking on social media, and I teach my girls this all the time, like what you're seeing, it's social media is very great for things like you and I and all this, but try and don't compare the traumas, don't compare the wins, just keep fighting, and know that everybody struggles, really struggles. So for all the greatness, know there's going to be challenges, but I promise you, you will grow the most during those challenges and during those tough times. So just accept them, take them on, be unbreakable, get after it, but know that it's real.
Scott, man, I love you. I'm so grateful that our paths crossed. I wish it wasn't the fact that you can't walk or couldn't walk, but God brings people together for reasons when they need it. And I'm so thankful that I found you and been able to follow along.
Me too, brother. Me too. Thank you for all you've done for me and my family. Seriously. And keep doing this, man. Like I said, I watch you, I see what you're doing, and keep fighting.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate you.
Bet.